Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to explain the basics to succeed in your comparatives and superlatives exam. So let's get the ball rolling. Okay, so first things first, when do we use comparatives and when do we use superlatives? Well, we use comparatives when we want to compare things, it makes sense. In this case, you're going to see that I'm comparing two different things, in this case, two different people, myself with my sister. If I tell you something like, I am older than my sister, comparo dos cosas, yo, o sea, a mí misma, con mi hermana. Y en este caso, además, también encontramos la palabra than, que siempre va a aparecer con los comparativos, ¿vale? No va a aparecer en todos los ejemplos, pero es cierto que siempre que aparezca va a ser directamente un comparativo. On the other hand, we are going to have superlatives, and when we use superlatives, we are not comparing things, but rather what we do is to say that something is above the rest somehow, okay? If I tell you something like, my sister is the youngest in the family, mi hermana es la más joven de la familia, I'm not comparing my sister with anyone in particular, but I'm just somehow remarking that she's the youngest, okay? And it usually appears with the, well, it always appears with them, but sometimes we are going to find as well, like in a group, in the family, in the class, in the world, something like that. O sea que los comparativos los utilizamos para comparar dos cosas, mientras que los superlativos siempre es algo dentro de un grupo, ya sea lo más, lo menos o bueno, siempre para resaltar la característica de esta persona, objeto o cosa dentro de un grupo. Great, so let's start with something easy. How do we build comparatives in English? Well, comparatives in English have nothing to do with the way in which we create comparatives in Spanish. In Spanish we just say soy más alto, soy más mayor, soy más inteligente, soy más guapo, but the length is not a problem in Spanish, but it is in English. In English, the first thing that we need to do is try to guess or try to, well, notice if the adjective is short or if it's long. Lo primero que tenemos que hacer es decidir más bien si el adjetivo es corto o es largo. ¿Cómo sé si es corto? Normalmente los que tienen una o dos sílabas suelen ser cortos. Los que son de dos, hay veces que estamos ahí entre medias, ¿ok? For instance, formal is short, somehow, okay, it has two syllables, but it's going to be done as a long one, sería como uno largo. El caso es que los adjetivos largos, por el contrario, suelen tener más de dos sílabas, y en este caso serían igual que en español, ¿vale? Vamos a ver cómo serían los cortos. Visto que los adjetivos cortos son cortitos de por sí, voy a poder agrandarlos un poco, hacerlos un poco más grandes. Entonces, lo que voy a hacer para crear comparativos con adjetivos cortos va a ser añadir ER a mi adjetivo. En este caso he decidido dividirlo en tres grupos, ya que son los más comunes. Podemos hacerlo con los más normales de todos, que simplemente pues sería añadir ER, tall, taller, old, older. Luego habría otros que lo que pasa es que duplican la consonante por temas de pronunciación, for instance, hot, hotter, or big, bigger, duplicarían esa consonante. And then we have the other group, easy or happy. En este caso estos dos terminan en Y y lo que haríamos sería cambiar esa Y por una I latina. So easy, easier, happy, happier. The same will happen with funny, for instance, funnier. Y estos serían los cortos, ¿vale? Por otra parte, tendríamos los largos. ¿Qué pasa con los largos? Que ya son palabras largas de por sí. No voy a poder hacer beautifuler or dangerouser. It doesn't make sense. So what I'm going to do is to make it as in Spanish. More beautiful, more dangerous, más bonito, más peligroso, igual que en español. Y en cualquiera de estos casos, tanto con los cortos o con los largos, visto que estoy comparando una cosa A con una cosa B, voy a poner than, que equivaldría a ese que en español. For instance, if we pay attention at the example above, and I say something like pizza, cosa A, is no sé qué, no sé cuánto, than a salad, cosa B, I'm comparing two things. In this case, I have something like pizza is tastier than a salad. Being tastier with a normal I, basically, ¿vale? Con una I latina en vez de la Y. Y así se harían los comparativos en inglés. So, what happened now with superlatives? How do we build superlatives in English? Well, if you pay attention, it's basically the same chart, ¿vale? Tenemos la misma tabla. But in this case, we are creating superlatives. Remember, we want to somehow present something as having extra qualities and being above or below a group, okay? So what we do here is respect, first of all, the same rules. Respetamos las mismas reglas que teníamos antes. Volvemos a dividir entre adjetivos cortos y adjetivos largos. Lo único que cambia en este caso es la terminación. Para crear un superlativo con un adjetivo corto no añado ER como ocurría en los comparativos, sino que añado EST. Soy the tallest, the hottest, and the easiest. I maintain the same rules. Y mantengo las mismas reglas, como podéis ver en este caso. What happened with the long ones? ¿Qué pasa con los largos? Pues que voy a tener que utilizar most, like in Spanish, el más bonito o el más peligroso, the most beautiful or the most dangerous. That's what I'm going to do, the way in which I'm going to make all these sentences. Pay attention because in this case we don't have than at the end, no estamos utilizando ese than, ese que nos comparaba, sino que lo que utilizamos es the tallest, the hottest, the most beautiful, as we do in Spanish, ¿ok? Como hacemos en español, el más no sé qué, la más no sé cuánto. So, if we pay attention to the sentence above, we'll have something like hamburgers are the tastiest meal in the world. I'm not comparing two things, but I'm saying that hamburgers are the tastiest, okay, in all the world. So I'm placing somehow hamburgers above the rest of the meals. And that's the aim of superlatives. So in this summary chart, you can see how comparatives and superlatives are created, how both follow the same rules, okay, for short adjectives and long adjectives. And all in all, the only thing that changes is either the suffix in the short adjectives or the word that is placed at the beginning in the long adjectives. De cara a los ejercicios que tenemos que hacer para el examen, lo primero que vamos a tener que determinar es si nos encontramos ante un comparativo o ante un superlativo. Una vez que sepamos eso, vamos a tener que decidir si el adjetivo es corto o es largo. You need to be very careful here because, as I was saying, in Spanish we do it in a different way, ¿ok? En español lo hacemos de una manera distinta y aquí tenemos que poner las luces de emergencia, ya que tendemos a fallar y a decir muchas veces more taller, for instance, because we know that tall is short, but we are thinking in Spanish and we mix it, and that doesn't exist. Eso no existe o no es gramaticalmente correcto, ¿vale? Entonces, lo primero que tendremos que determinar es si es un comparativo o un superlativo, después decidir si es corto o largo y acordarme de cómo se hacían los cortos, que en el caso de los comparativos sería añadiendo ER, y en el caso de los superlativos EST, y por último en el caso de los largos añadir more en el caso del comparativo y the most en el caso del superlativo. Siempre teniendo en cuenta que hay veces que en el examen o bien nos falta el than o bien nos falta el de, del comparativo y superlativo respectivamente. If these two words are missing, you need to add them, ¿vale? En caso de que faltasen, deberíamos de añadirlas también. Es muy común que, por ejemplo, en los superlativos el de falte y seamos nosotros quienes lo tenemos que añadir. But at the very end, comparatives and superlatives are just this. Yet we shouldn't forget that there are a lot of exceptions in English, and some of them are these ones. These are some adjectives that we need to learn by heart. Nos tenemos que aprender de memoria. Good, the comparative is irregular, better, and the superlative the best, okay? Then bad, it's going to be worse and the worst. And far, lejos, it's going to be farther and the farthest. Both are pronounced in the same way, las dos se pronuncian de la misma manera, pero la diferencia entre utilizar U o utilizar A viene siendo que la U se refiere a una distancia metafórica. That's why the connector furthermore refers to a metaphorical distance. El conector furthermore, que significa además, se refiere a una distancia metafórica, ¿vale? Realmente. And farther, I don't know if I tell you that Alaska is farther than Málaga, imagine it's a real distance, okay? So in a map, I can somehow measure that. It's a real distance, okay? Siempre que aparezca con la A, es decir, que sea igual que el adjetivo del principio, far, va a referirse a una distancia real, que se puede medir de alguna manera, okay? If we pay attention at the example at the top, we have something like she's the best friend ever, okay? Or those ones that you have just below. He is worse than her brother. Alaska is farther with A. Sorry, is the farthest country in the world. And then Sarah is better than Laura studying English. These are just some examples. De cara al examen, recordad que las palabras que os van a aparecer entre paréntesis van a ser las primeras y tendréis que recordar que esas palabras pues se hacen pues con un comparativo o un superlativo que es irregular. If this is clear, let's practice a little bit. My advice is to stop the video, try to complete all these gaps, and then we do it together. So, if you've already stopped the video, let me start with this thing, okay? First of all, this armchair is... So, let us practice with this super simple exercise. I'd like you to stop the video, try to do it, and then we check it together. So, now that you've already stopped the video, let me tell you that this is a very simple exercise that, as I told you before, try to guess if it's a comparative or a superlative, and after that, try to choose if it's long or short. So, first of all, this armchair is more comfortable than the old one. We know that we are comparing two things, this armchair with the old one, and also since we have done, it's easy to guess that it's a comparative, okay? Since comfortable is long, we do it like in that way. Then trains are slower than aeroplanes, same thing, in this case, shorter. I bought the most expensive souvenir I could afford. I'm not comparing two souvenirs, but I'm just saying that there's one souvenir that was the most expensive within a group. In this classroom, there are more girls than boys, okay? More, it's also the regular way to compare that many. Then Anne is the youngest in the family. I'm highlighting that fact about Anne within a group, okay? In this case, her family. And then that TV set is the cheapest of all. Once again, the same thing. Both are short. You are safer here than there. Since we have than, it's easy to guess that it's a comparative. Anyways, try to read the entire sentence, okay? Because sometimes it could be a comparative, but there is no than, okay? And it will make sense, obviously. Then number 8, Fifi is prettier than Kate, okay? Short as well. And here we change it to a normal I. This is the most exciting film I've ever seen, okay? Once again, highlighting one fact. And finally, Tim is more talented than Peter, comparing Tim with Peter. So if comparatives and superlatives are easy, this is just the end of the video. This is a clear and super short summary of comparatives and superlatives. There will be another part where I try to expand this topic a little bit more. But in case you still have some doubts, feel free to send me an email, okay? And also try to practice with the exercise I'm going to leave just below. Perhaps they are also useful and they will be similar to the ones you'll have in the final exam. So this is all for now.